Hey everybody, Swap Mojo Wolf. I want to do a video this week talking about the state of the gaming industry as a whole. And I thought the little thumbnail I made for this video kind of sparked a discussion. The fact you have Xbox going around laying waste to some of the studios. In fact, they come out and say we need more smaller games that can score high and get a lot of interest. Well, Hi-Fi Rush did that, but apparently it didn't meet whatever metrics and it got flatline. They're about to propose a number two. Another thing to keep in mind, I don't really see a lot of discussion on, is the fact that a lot of the people that were in that studio left in between Hi-Fi Rush and now. So I guess Xbox just didn't really have the faith in like whoever was left in the team, which is kind of sad, but it just seems like part and parcel for what they do. So I think we're going to see a lot of contraction in the upcoming years, because think about like this. The main problem that was pretty much the catalyst for all these changes is the fact that console sales are just down across the board. I went to Best Buy Saturday night and they had a wall full of PS5s and maybe a few Series X's stacked in the corner there. Of course, I'd say proportionately about 3-1, which is about how they sell anyway, which I thought was funny. But that's how they had them lined up, and you can tell they've been sitting there for a hot minute, and they had some up front even. As soon as you walk in the door, they got a PS5 right there, a digital one. They got the Xbox Series X. They got the S. They're trying to get these things moving, but people just aren't interested. And they're good consoles. A lot of us have the consoles, and I think it's just the games and just how the industry is, how the companies are doing, and I think it's left a bit of confusion and maybe a sour taste in some people's mouths. So I kind of want to do this video just to kind of, read the tea leaves a little and just kind of tell you what I think is going to happen in the next, maybe 2 to 3 years. We're already seeing a lot of it now, and by the time, we hit end of 24, we'll see a lot of this already happen. But I'm just going to kind of go through the big three gaming the big three companies, publishers, I guess you'd call them. I'm going to go through them, but let's start with Microsoft. Here's what they're doing. I think what Phil Spencer did was he's trying to be the good guy CEO. He let the teams work on whatever they wanted to work on. That's why we got Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment and Grounded. Because you would think, Obsidian, the last big game y'all did was Outer Worlds, which is kind of like they wanted it to be Fallout New Vegas in space. It obviously wasn't, but that's kind of what closest comparison, I'd say. And instead, they're doing a survival crafting game mixed with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Then they're doing Pentiment, which is like this basically book game. I don't know. 2D. It's not a bad game. It's just really hard to sell and describe. But these are good games that a lot of people probably wouldn't buy on day one, but they're really good to have on Game Pass. It's gotten to where Game Pass games have turned into like almost a derogatory term, because it's just middle of the road, just junk. Because I mean, honestly, who's to say like Xbox? Basically, what they did higher up is that Phil Spencer let the studios do what they want, which I mean, that's not a bad thing. But the problem is the stuff they want to do just doesn't sell well. And I'm sure the Microsoft executives, because remember, Microsoft is above Xbox. So the Microsoft executives, I don't even think paid attention to Xbox. It was profitable. Game Pass had stuff going. They didn't care. So enter the Activision deal. When they were fighting it with the FTC and the FTC wanted to strike it down, I said right then and there to some of my friends, I said, guys, I mean, let's hope this deal doesn't go through. But Microsoft, I knew was going to fight for it. I knew they'd get what they want, and because I mean they're one of the big companies, they do a lot of favors. So they got the deal, which cost $80 billion, and you got to remember, Microsoft is now a $3 trillion company. $80 billion is a pretty decent chunk of change. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do with $1 million personally. $80 billion? So they get this money and spend it on the deal. They start looking at the books and Game Pass, because notice how we're about, I'd say, 6 months from this deal going on, and Where are all the Activision games on Game Pass? It feels like all they really added was Diablo 4, and I feel like they almost had to add that game because it's supposed to be like this online service type of game, and you need more players. And it just, Diablo 4 is just not doing very well just because of different decisions and all that. I think this new season could be fine, but I mean, you can see why it's on Game Pass. So, and I'm sitting here thinking, how come the other Call of Duty games aren't on here? Like, not even the old ones. So, anyway, they're trying to get all this through. I think the bean counters are finally looking at this. They're noticing Game Pass is stagnating. And honestly, in order to grow Game Pass, you need to move consoles. Of course, if you have PC, you can have it too. But I think the big bet is that you have this Netflix of gaming service. And it'll be so alluring that people will want to buy consoles and get on it and get access to those games. I think that's why the Series S was what it was. Because it's a more budget-friendly option. It goes on sale often. And sadly, now the Xbox Series X is even as cheap as it can be sometimes. And people are just not... They're just not buying it. And honestly, a lot of that comes down to quality. And then another thing Microsoft does, which I think is better for them in the long run, but it really shoots themselves in the foot with console sales, is everything you can get on console, you get it on PC. So why would you sit and pay, how much is the X? About $500. Why would you pay $500 and then about 4 to 5 years they say, oh, well, here's a new version that can do more things, which is another $500. When you could just dump about, I'd say $1,200 to $2,000 on a great PC gaming rig. I give you that big price range because depending on what you know, if you know your stuff, you can get it for about $1,200. But if you just need to order a big box pre-made PC, it's probably going to run you up $2,000. But that's 10 years worth right there. Granted, I think Microsoft made the right move on that in the long run, but they really did kill any momentum, any allure of the Xbox. So that's why you're starting to see stuff on the Xbox just kind of... I don't think they're going to make another one. I really don't. If they do, it's probably just going to be the Series X, but it's just going to not have a disk drive. It'll be like the cloud and the digital gaming thing. But I think the main thing Microsoft has going right is their idea on the cloud and cross-platform saves. Okay, so let's take Starfield. I have a character, it's like level 90 on there, on my Xbox. So, when I had my Xbox Series S, I could boot it up, and as long as it was connected to the internet, it could load my save from the cloud. I could play it on there. And then, when I wanted to play on my phone, if I wanted to, I don't, but if I did, I have the option to get on cloud on the phone and load that same character and play on the go, either with a backbone or a controller attached to it. I could play from an iPad, or if I had a PC good enough to run it, I could just boot it up here on the PC. And guess what? I can load that character. See, I think that's the right way for them to go. However, where are your games? And that right there is what Microsoft executives are asking right now. Where are your games? Okay, you're known for Halo. Last one didn't do so hot. My question is, why don't they give Halo to another studio? Why are they keeping 343 around? I mean, you know what? Fuck it. They fucked up Halo 4, they fucked up Halo 5, they fucked up Halo Infinite. That is 3 major games in over 10 years. But yet, you're going to sit there and cut Tango Gameworks for, we're just not feeling it right now. But 343 gets to stay? What is that? Anyway, I mean, honestly, I try to keep it a bit friendly on the channel, but when your number's tanking and your channel's a ghost town, you just kind of don't give a shit anymore. So, with all that being said, Microsoft's in a really tough spot. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I keep seeing the people in the media are starting to hype up the showcase in June. Well, who's to say damage isn't already done? I think we're going to see a lot of these games that they've already mentioned in maybe a more final state. But I'm sure the fear looming over all these studios' heads is, are we next? Like, take Hellblade 2, for example. It's probably going to be about a a 5 to 10 hour more narrative driven campaign. It's really a niche game. The first one's good, but I think Xbox was expecting God of War, and it sure isn't it. But it's a great game in its own right, but I feel like expectations are a bit weird too. And who's to say if that game doesn't do well, they get rid of it? So I think what you're going to see from Xbox over the next few years is a lot of their games that are already on Xbox and already on Game Pass that are exclusive to them, you're going to start seeing them on PlayStation. I'd be willing to bet $100 that Starfield will be out on PS5 by December 31st. Give them a little leeway on that. It'll be before Christmas. Pretty much all their games, I think, will be on PS5 and PC, ready to go, optimized and everything, because that's their only option. They're going to have to become a publisher. Now, they might come up with a new Xbox just for enthusiasts, but who's going to buy it? Especially if you're going to start putting out games on PlayStation on day one. Don't know about that. Let Sony have that high-end console, which brings me to our next. And the other thing that Microsoft did wrong, I think. So basically, Microsoft is pretty much going to force Xbox to work on stuff that works. For example, Bethesda did Starfield, which I enjoyed the game. It's huge. There's like 1,600 planets. I think for their next game, Xbox is like, okay, guys, Elder Scrolls 6. Let's do a Skyrim-sized map, which is right up there on the wall. Let's do that, but modern day. Let's make some money. That's pretty much what they're going to do. And that's why I don't even think Call of Duty will be on Game Pass day one. I really don't, unless they're going to start charging more money for it. And it's not going to be like just a couple dollars. It's going to be $5 or $6, I think, because it's a lot of money you're losing. So, anyway, Xbox will be on more platforms. They'll put some stuff on Switch. They'll put some stuff on the new Switch. And they're pretty much going to start becoming a publisher. That's pretty much what's going to happen to Microsoft. I don't think Phil Spencer's going to stay around too much longer just because. And, yeah. It's going to be more of Microsoft running the show. I mean, Phil and them had their chance, and he, honestly, he's got a lot of yes people that let his ass down. Seriously. How in the hell do you play Redfall and, our internal review said it'll probably get about an 8 out of 10. Bullshit. Come on now. And they're sitting there playing Avowed. It's not reviewing quite well as we think it might later on this year. Well, if y'all aren't reviewing it well and y'all are pretty optimistic, what does that tell you about the game? Is Obsidian next? Because Avowed's coming out later this year. I digress. Okay, PlayStation. Let me tell you what's going to happen with them. You're going to start seeing more of the same with them, but they're going to have to get some smaller games out because Spider-Man 2, God of War, Horizon, those are big budget games, cost hundreds of millions to make, and I'm not sure if they're making a lot of that money back because you can sit there and have a game with that big of a budget, but a lot of times they have DLCs and microtransactions to kind of lift that bottom up and give you some of that money back quicker, but I'm not sure if Sony is doing very well in that regard. I kind of think the bean counters have looked at their books too. Because, in the FTC hearings, they came out and said, look, you have to have like 500 million people subscribed if you're going to have Game Pass be a thing. That's why we're just not going to do it. We'll do what we do with the game library, but that's feasible to us. That's the best you're going to get. And honestly, if you're coming over to PlayStation from a few year absence like I was, that game library isn't too bad. But you're starting to see the quality of the games kind of go down a bit. Stuff you get on sale all the time. But I think they're going to try and push a few more live service games. I remember there was a lot of development for those, but the ones that have came out have not done so well. So I think their best option is to literally do what they're doing now. Like Stellar Blade came out, Helldivers 2. These are smaller games, but are still offering plenty of hours and plenty of a rich experience to justify the price tags. And I think they're just going to kind of scale a bit down, like maybe a lot less of the cinema production level in the games, and see if some of these smaller studios can shine. Now, I think Sony has quite enough brands and IPs of their own that they can possibly reboot and, cash in a little bit of that momentum. Like, I keep hearing rumors of like a second Ghost of Tsushima's game. It's been a while since Sucker Punch put out a game. So You have that. You have Death Stranding, which I'm sure will be exclusive, and I think this next wave of games they're going to come out on PC as well as PS5, pretty much day one. I would not be surprised because see they're realizing the same thing as Xbox. Why don't we chase the PC crowd as well? Now Sony, can we do something with Bloodborne? I mean, give it to Blue Point. Let them do what they did with Demon Souls. To me, that's easy money, guys. But I think the issue with Bloodborne, honestly, is that the code must be so tough to just scale up that you pretty much have to rebuild it. And if I remember right, I don't think they have a lot of it for Bloodborne because they weren't sure if it was going to be a big thing. Anyway, so kind of ironic after the fact, but they need to take advantage of games like that. And to me, that's what kind of got the PS3 some attention. That's what helped the PS4 out. Just some smaller games. And yeah, I understand you got to do some live service stuff, but oh, and the whole deal about Bungie, just have them reboot Destiny. I don't know. I don't even know what you do with Destiny anymore. It's such a fun game, but I don't know what you do with it. I don't think they know either. So that kind of brings me up to Nintendo. I don't want this video to go too terribly long. And Nintendo, I think, is kind of the shortest straw right now. In terms of me talking, I'm not saying they're the shortest straw because I think they are in the catbird seat because Nintendo has always done their own thing. I remember making like a couple videos on my channel a couple years ago called like the Fireside Chats. And I sat there and asked, what the hell are you doing, Nintendo? And clearly, they're getting ready for the new Switch. Now, between the last video and this video, they've started putting out some specs on the Switch too. It's been called the Switch Super on shipping manifests. That's where we're getting this info. And I was looking at some of the specs, and the best way to explain it without getting too nerdy on you guys is that if the Switch is handheld, let me use my game case example. If the Switch is handheld and you're just kind of playing it on the go, it's about as powerful as a PS4. Now, if you put the Switch and you dock it and you plug it up to your TV and everything, it's going to be more like a PS4 Pro. And guys, I'll be honest with you. I think the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X could run a lot of these games that they're trying to get you to get a PS5 and a Series X for. I think a lot of it's bad optimization, and I don't know. Gaming's in a real tough spot. These games cost a lot of money to make. They take a lot of time to make. And you got to sell some kind of hardware. It's just not sustainable. And I think Nintendo's in the catbird seat. Because when that new Switch comes out next year, I fully expect it to be fully backwards compatible with the Switch. So all those games all those people own, and a lot of people have Switches, they'll work just fine. And in some cases, I wouldn't be surprised if they run better. I think one thing they could do when they show off that console is show Zelda Tears of the Kingdom run better. And I think Nintendo's even going to start scaling back a little bit on their scale too, because think of it, Breath of the Wild, you have Hyrule. Tears of the Kingdom, not only is it Hyrule, you got the Sky Islands, you got the Depths. And not to mention, just in terms of all the map options, you have completely new powers, and it's really physics-based and sandbox-driven, just turns it upside on its head. I get why they do it because, my God, if you're the creative type, you make that game last a decade. But they wanted to make, last longer than Breath of the Wild. And I fully expect the next Zelda game, major Zelda game they do, be a bit smaller in scale. Maybe semi-open world. Like, you'll be going on an adventure. You'll be kind of going along and exploring and have some stuff to do. But I think it'll be a lot scaled back. But I think maybe it can deliver a more rich experience. And then some of the Nintendo's problems is like, okay, people want a new Mario Kart, but how can we innovate Mario Kart? Hey, I got an idea. Mario Kart Maker. Not only is it the next Mario Kart game, you can make your own tracks too. Put them online, let other people play them. Infinite content right there. But, yeah, I can just see Nintendo. Because what Nintendo did when they came out with the Switch, they made people realize, okay, handheld gaming is a serious thing. You got to remember. Like, for a lot of people that work on the go a lot, they probably have some money to spend. They're bored. So, Get you a Switch, and like Steam realizes too, they put out a Steam Deck. PlayStation has the Portal, and Nintendo, they started all this. So what they can do is, and I think honestly, the reason why they're waiting so long is because they know it's going to be real hard selling a console that looks a lot like the Switch. You know, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Well, if it looks like a Switch and plays like a Switch and has the same stuff, it's probably a Switch. But they're going to have to justify people dropping another $300 to $400. And I think what they're doing is they're kind of giving it some time for a lot of these components to get just a little bit cheaper so they can kind of enter that market at $300 again. If not, just a little lower. So you can get people to buy this. It's like, well, hell, back in 2017, I paid $300 for this fucking console. Now, you can pay maybe $25 less in the modern economy, whatever you want to call it, and get a super beefy Switch. To me, I think they're going to cash on that and be a no-brainer. But Nintendo, and I think that would also open a lot of fun third-party collaborations, and that'll encourage some studios to kind of make more experiences on the go when they run well. Because, like, I know some of the Switch games, like Kingdom Hearts, Guardians of the Galaxy, I know for sure. There's a few more Switch games that they run on the Switch, but you got to run them on the cloud. I think on the next Switch, those are games that Nintendo should be able to verify that you own it and say, hey, we're going to give you the game now. You don't have to stream it no more. And guess what? It's going to run as good as it does on the PS4. So I think a 1080p 30 frame experience handheld for $300, they'll sell like hotcakes. They'll probably do better than the Switch. But I think it'll allow them as well to kind of make their games a bit more beefy. And honestly, like, I don't know how the hell they got Tears of the Kingdom work on the Switch. I really don't. But fun fact though, I thought about doing like a whole big series about Zelda. We'll kind of see how that goes over the next few weeks, months. But I'm honestly waiting on Nintendo's next big presentation, because the only thing really stopping me from kind of going back and doing like a big Zelda retrospective series is that the only way to play the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, which are the two games that got me into Zelda, are on, you either have to get a Wii U and buy the HD versions, which all the costs together, it's about $200. I don't want to spend that, especially just for a video no one's going to watch and I'm just going to do for fun. And then I don't want to do the other option, which is get a GameCube, which is higher than a Wii U in a lot of places around here, and go find those games on eBay for $60 to $80 because they're hard to find and they're rare. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if Nintendo announces Wind Waker and Twilight Princess for the Switch this year, because honestly, you got to do a little bit of something, because for what I'm seeing, the next Switch isn't going to come out till the end of next year, so something to think about. But oh yeah, I found this for $10 at Walmart this weekend. Childhood favorite. It used to be called Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, but there was some naming disputes, so they had to rebrand to Story of Seasons. It's still the same game. Look. Still the same game, but it's just more modern. They kind of fixed some stuff that was annoying, and so I went and opened this thing and checked this out. That's Super Mario Wonder. Camera's not really picking that up good. That's not Harvest Moon. I'm just kidding. No, what I do honestly is, like, the last game I play, like Super Mario Wonder, I'll pop it out of the Switch and pop it in the case of the current game I'm playing, because my Switch and my games are in a different room and I'm lazy. But that's that. But last pro tip, if you're watching this long, go check out Walmart, some of the stores around here. You might find some games like this for $10. Hey, check them out. Because, like, they're wanting to get away from physical and go digital. That's about the other thing you can kind of see happening with all of them. So I think the only way you do that is if you make it worthwhile to go digital. Why are you charging $70 for a game on disc that costs money to make the disc, make the box, ship the thing, go to the stores? But you're also charging $70 for the digital edition, which you purchase on the storefront and download it. I don't know about that one. So that's all I got. Mike Mojo Wolf signing out. See you guys later.